Hello and happy Jupiter Day. Happy almost August. I thought for this Jupiter Day before the start of August, it would be fun to do a little month ahead, pick a card. I know a lot of you who are part of the Patreon, who do the Sovereign tier or the Mystic tier, get a reading. And I was going to do like a tarot spread that I thought you could do like 9 grails. Highly recommend doing that anyway on a Jupiter Day. But yeah, thought it'd be fun to do like a little month ahead since it's the last Jupiter day. And Jupiter is good for prophecy, divination, those sorts of things. So I've got a pick a card here using the Archania Tarot. I had pulled these cards, I have them next to me. So I will show them, or I will actually probably be looking at them while I show on screen the cards. You can pick left, middle, or right. And if you need to calm down, come into center, connect with yourself, you have time to do so. Take some nice deep breaths in. Hold the breath if you haven't already exhaled. Then exhale. Hold that empty breath, the empty lung. Then breathe in. Hold the breath. Breathe out. Hold the empty lung. That should get you into a more grounded spot mentally, emotionally, physically, etc. If you need more time, just pause and continue breathing in that way. But we are going to reveal the cards and then I will interpret them. So if you have not picked, if you're not ready to pick, get ready. And here we go. We have from, again, this is the Archania Tarot by Mazjojo, I think is the name. He's a queer bara artist. Um, this is not explicitly all just hunky men, although there are plenty in this deck. But that is, one of his specialties. So we have on the left Two of Swords, in the middle Nine of Wands, very much in the Sagittarian mode, and then the Ace of Swords at the end. Ace of Swords has really been following me recently. Um, so the Two of Swords, Nine of Wands, Ace of Swords. We will look at each of these in turn. I haven't thought about what these cards might mean yet, so I'm just going to take a look. I have the cards here. They're this very unusual size. I think this would normally be like a standard tarot card, so then it goes higher. I don't know if you can still get this version. It was from a Kickstarter. I have not seen them have an online store, so not sure if it's still available. There was like a more normal size version, I think. Okay. But anyway, on the left with Two of Swords, right, this is still giving the typical like indecision, but seeking clarity. It's interesting, both the Two of Swords and the Ace of Swords are sort of like weirdly disproportionate, um, which is not a problem that I normally identify in this artist's work. So that does kind of stand out to me. Um, it's like a not really knowing which way is up. Um, like where there is this kind of mirror inversion situation happening that is creating a kind of like uncanny valley. And I think the reason why that's important is for those of you who chose this month, it may be a little bit harder to discern sort of like what's real, what's true, what's a reflection or projection. I mean, one of the strengths of the Two of Swords, and here we can zoom in a little bit more if you chose this one. One of the strengths of this card is that it's a combination of logic and intuition. It's the moon, it's Libra, emotion, mind, very considered, right? Bringing in all of the insights from wherever they may happen to emerge, whether that's from within or without, and really trying to make sense of them. Here with the blindfold, right? There's a desire to sort of shut out external voices in order to better understand what's going on um, inside, internally, that sort of inner wisdom. Almost in this essence or this instance, because the Libra glyph is on their clothing and the moon glyph is sort of like in the background, it's like they are trying to get that intuition to activate, right? To sort of see beyond what logic and analysis can provide. So while I would normally say like, oh, they should be in balance, in this particular expression, um, I think logic and analysis may be unable to discern between the thing and its mirror that is creating confusion. Right? I was saying, like, oh, there's this weird sort of reflection happening. And I say that because I think in the digital artistry, there is some mirroring happening so that it's perfectly symmetrical, which looks very strange um, and unnatural, even though it should be aesthetically harmonious. Um, if you've ever like stood with half of yourself behind a mirror and half in front, right? You can sort of, or there were like TikTok filters that would do this as well to show you like, okay, this is a kind of perfect symmetry. But, I mean, A, it's not the real person because no one's perfectly symmetrical, and B, like it's very hard to find the right spot to do that where it doesn't look a little bit freakish as a result. And it's interesting, I'm looking at the cards and you can tell that it's not perfectly symmetrical, at least not all of it. But there is this sort of like, is it not? The reason why I say that, if you zoom in here, you can see a little bit of the cloud behind the sword, whereas you cannot over here. Um, using those that sight to really home in on distinctions. You can also see it in sort of like the path of some of the stars in the background, but that's neither here nor there, right? Like feeling into the sense of when something is off and like where the source of that is, you may be better served by letting it wash over you and then sort of like radaring, getting it closer without necessarily doing like a deep scan. I often think um, it reminds me of doing like spot the difference images, um, where I could generally tell, like, okay, in this region of the picture, something is different. I can't totally identify it yet, but I know there's something off in this part of the picture, right? And so that's more of an intuitive feel where I'm getting a sense of the overall pattern, but I'm not analyzing and interpreting anything yet. I'm not decoding anything yet. I'm not seeing, like, okay, this is actually, there are 9 orange balls or whatever, right? Like I just know sort of a gut instinct by seeing the big picture, like something is off in this section. That's the kind of energy that I get from this card. So that is a good skill to use or practice and acquire this month. Um, yeah, because that kind of like mirror, some things might look sort of like too perfect. And that is, yeah, like that's a warning against the thing. So then in the second position, we have the Nine of Wands. I said it was giving Sagittarian vibes. This is the moon in Sagittarius. So again, we have another moon glyph on it. The previous one was moon in Libra. Um, The centaur is the archer centaur is Sagittarius. Yeah, in this instance, right, there's like a lot of damage has been done, a lot of damage has been taken. In this feels like a very role play kind of deck. Um, you can see these little wounds, you can see blood, uh, bruises, cuts, things coming out of this man. I don't know what's going on with that nipple. Um, but there's a real sense of like battle scarring and weariness, but absolute strength nonetheless, right? In a Thoth tradition, this would be called strength, um, or great fortitude. And so it has a lot of resonance with that kind of endurance and resilience that we might associate with the major arcanum called strength. And so that's more of the vibe that I get from this. Not like exhaustion, not setting up boundaries, not staking claims, but actually like a pretty aggressive defense, where you have been somewhere. You've been there before. You've done the work. You've It's not your first rodeo. Like all of these cliches coming up. Um, But yeah, the idea of being able to withstand based on past experience. I think of this card as kind of the veteran. Um, Not this instance of it, but the Nine of Wands in general. And so I'm really getting that sense from this particular depiction that, yeah, they may be bruised and bleeding, but like they are far from done. Like they know what they're doing. Um, and so this is there's a lot of competence here. you know, it's certainly you're not feeling fresh and rosy, um, but you can take the experiences that you have, really use them, lean on them, be ready to act on them, and not like wait until the last minute to do so. I mean, one of the distinctions here with having, even though they're wands, they look like spears, by having an archer here, right? Like they're going to shoot you from a distance. They're not waiting until you're right up on them. And so there's a real like striking first, striking quickly energy. And you may be waiting for the opportunity, waiting for that target to come into sight, as it were, waiting for that opportunity before you actually strike it. You're not searching for it, you're not seeking it out. Instead, you're patiently waiting and then acting like immediately on it. Yeah, the only other thing, it's funny, when I first saw this card, and I forgot I have it in front of me. When I first saw this card, I was very intrigued by this sort of uh, crotch piece, as it were, right? I mean, the man is a centaur, so that's not where, what is he covering in this instance? Um, we have this other sort of banner covering that. But there is this sort of like sense of, I don't want to say modesty because that's not quite right or fitting with the rest of this. But if we think of the almost like I said, it was an aggressive defense, it's almost like overly protective quality. It's like reactionary protection. It sort of feels like being overly protective, right? Because like he's covering up this part of himself that this version of himself does not have, right? It doesn't exist. And sort of like overkill by having um, the two like banners, as it were. I am really interested in this lower one with the moon and the flame above it. I'm sure that's an important symbol. It looks, I would guess, Thai. I'm not sure. Like a cross between a blade and a flame. It also reminds me of some illustrations of ghosts. Um, and so again, there's that the like the blade, the flame, the ghost, all being tied to a kind of veteran history of being in the sort of survival, battle hardened position before. So yeah, like you definitely can do this. You've done it before. You are um, more than skilled and competent. Definitely going to come out on top. It seems opportunity strikes or strike when opportunity first emerges seems to be like the essence of this, though. All right. And then the last card is this very unsettling Ace of Swords. It's so funny. I love so much of this deck. This is not one of the cards that I love. Um, it's reminding me of the like Aeon of Pain in the Final Fantasy X series. Just like this very unsettling, sort of mummified angel kind of figure. Yeah, this feels a little bit like um, a tug of war here with these two hands holding this sword. This is another one of those like uncanny valley moments where I'm like, I don't fully understand what's happening, but it is very cool. If when you get this reversed, it still feels like a is actually like a pretty significant thing instead of just an incidental reversal. It just feels like the whole image changes. And I think I actually drew this reversed when I did it. I drew these cards a couple days ago and then set them aside because I didn't have time to record anything for it. But yeah, it's almost so. Follow me here. um, if this were reversed, as it were, this A at the top of the card, which stands for ace, would almost look like a V, right? The center bar that makes it an A is very faint. And so I think let's just flip this upside down, right? So you have this like hand stabbing in. It's no longer holding defensively. It's almost like it's uh, thrusting in the blade. And then you have the V, which would make this the five of swords in this particular instance. And that's a much more aggressive, um, overly aggressive kind of energy, very different from the Ace of Swords, which we think of as very logical, very practical, incisive for sure, cutting for sure, um, but clear. And so for me, there's this real tension between the two of them. Like there's the angelic and the demonic simultaneously in this depiction, which is part of what makes it so unsettling, I think. Um, and there's a little bit of that symmetry that we have in the Two of Swords as well. Not quite as obvious, but still very much there. Um, where it's sort of like two sides of the same thing, even though those two things are quite different and, in fact, are probably fighting each other. Like their opposition not um, is not incidental; it's part of the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I just really get the sense of um, a contest, like contested efforts, contested will, not like I did not mean it in the sense of a contested inheritance, but in terms of two strong willed people being at odds with each other, or two deeply held beliefs within one person that are actually contradictory or at odds with each other in this particular moment. Yeah, and it again, it feels a little bit less like clarity, less like truth, and more, like this kind of plunging the sword into the, somewhat demonic figure, um, right? And perhaps revealing a truth that is otherwise hidden. But again, there's a real like cost to that. There's a real tension between the two, the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, just trying to see if there's anything else on the card that's calling my attention. It's funny, I can almost like hear the anime sounds that go with these arms and this sword. There's a sort of like squelching because these feel almost like amphibian arms, quite distinct. They do not belong to this primary figure. They're sort of reaching out from beyond the edge of the card to exert their will, which is where this contest comes from. And instead, the Ace of Swords, this kind of angel demon figure in the middle, is, I was going to say they're like a center point for it, but I kind of get the impression that they're offering it. Like they are, in the traditional tarot, the hand that is offering the sword. In this case, they've offered a sword, but it is being contested between two people. So, that to me, for some of you, this could be a situation where you feel like you are trying to put something out there and it's being immediately seized upon for two, not just different, but opposing purposes. Um, yeah. And I think that that's an unsettling experience because it feels like such a confusion when the Ace of Swords is normally so clear. Um, I wouldn't normally want to just end on that. I feel like there's some advice that's needed. Yeah, I just keep focusing on the gold foil stars or starbursts and the feathers that are falling. There's a kind of, what? It's making me think of super quick action, right? Like, again, if we're thinking of anime swords and anime noises, as I was hearing in this card itself, like if you've ever seen an anime with this sort of theme, um, a sword that's moving really quickly, and you hear the sort of like kashing, kashing every time they slice, and then you see, in this instance, the bird feathers falling down, sort of a sign of like a bird was in the middle of all of this flurry of blades. And so I think there is real quick action to be taken where like pure force isn't going to do it because you're like locked in this tug of war, and instead it's like small quick things that will sort of turn the tide in this battle. So I definitely would not go for big big swings, but instead little ones. Recognizing that you know, there's a cost to winning here with this kind of angel demon combination and this passing sort of intuitive rebranding of the ace as a kind of inverted five of swords. So, very weird reading for this particular card, I understand. But that is where we are. Very battle oriented, these three, with the two swords and then this fighter wands. Yeah, and there's no moon in the ace of swords, unlike the other two. There's no real room for emotion, is how I would read that. Right? Just act quickly, decisively, small, short, sharp, those sorts of movements. Okay. Well, that's all I am going to do with this. Doing the Ace of Swords, I felt like I was starting to go to some other planet. So I'm gonna, I don't know, take a nap. Maybe it's the full moon getting to me. But I hope that your August is wonderful. If you're a Patreon, thank you for your support. If you're not and somehow found this, not sure how, you should consider joining us. And if you are looking for this deck, good luck. But I will link to the Kickstarter in the description. All right. Enjoy your August.